For further analysis on this, Ahmed Kaballo joins us live from Nairobi in Kenya. He's a Sudan affairs analyst and the CEO of African Stream. Ahmed, welcome. So, as we're just hearing from our reporter Grace there, Khartoum is in such a bad state. The scale of obliteration is really huge. I mean, what's driving people's return? Are they really hopeful for peace and have confidence in peace? Or is it simply they've got nowhere else to go?
I think it's the latter. The people, when they've visited or escaped to places like Egypt, they've found it's very difficult for them to work. They've not been treated particularly well by the Egyptian authorities. They have to get visas, even though that's against international law, as asylum seekers. So they've come to the realization. I've spoken to many relatives who've decided to go back home, that as bad as it is back home, it can't be worse than what we're experiencing in some of these neighboring countries. But yeah, when they get home, they realize in many ways it is worse. There's no running water. There's very little food. There is no functioning state. The state apparatus is still in Port Sudan, thousands of kilometers away from the capital. The army is busy trying to recapture more land from the RSF. So a lot is left to what they call these community kitchens. And the community kitchens rely on people in the diaspora to raise money so they can build water wells, so they can provide food and basic necessities. But the problem is, even when we send money back home and people have cash, they realize there isn't enough food to go around. So it's a really dire situation. And unfortunately, because of what's going on elsewhere in the world, Sudan is not getting the attention it needs. It's already been declared by the UN as the world's worst humanitarian crisis. That should have triggered off millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of aid, yet that aid still isn't coming. So the Sudanese people are in a really desperate situation. And that's just in the capital. In places like Darfur, they have all of the above that I've just mentioned, plus the threat of the RSF kidnapping women and young girls, plus the threat of them killing anyone who they deem to be military age, plus the threat of the looting of items. And there is no real aid presence in those regions as well.
And so, Ahmed, what you're describing, I mean, people are returning to a city that doesn't really have the requirements needed, public services, for them to be able to rebuild their lives there. I mean, essential services like hospitals and schools, I presume, are not functioning. And what's the security situation like? Is it safe for people returning, or are there potential clashes that could flare up again?
It's a very good question, because in some ways it's safe from the RSF. The army has liberated all of Khartoum at the moment. But the problem we have is people have been living in a lawless situation for close to 3 years now. And because of the desperation and the destitution of so many, there's become these gangs that are, occupying people's houses, robbing people on the streets. And this isn't, Sudanese people are, I say this as a biased person because I'm Sudanese myself, we are very hospitable, we are very welcome, we're very community driven. But if you collapse the state, these are the conditions that happen. People become desperate, people do anything to survive, and things that they would never have imagined doing 2, 3, 4 years ago, they find themselves doing now. So it's a terrible situation. And unless we alleviate the poverty, the desperation, the hunger, then the lawlessness is going to continue. A lot of the elders have fled from their homes. So the established community network that keeps the order is no longer there. There are people there that are desperate, they need food, they need help, and are willing to do whatever it takes to survive for them and their loved ones.
Sudan affairs analyst and CEO of African Stream, Ahmed Kaballo, thanks so much for being with us here on TRT World.
Thank you for having me.